This episode of Scab Talk is brought to you by Lethal Gaming Gear. And welcome back to Scab Talk, everyone. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a short episode because it's been a pretty light week in Tarkov. Not much is going on. BSG just finished up their event in Tokyo at the game show and got some minor changes, but otherwise pretty light week. Been carrying on. However, for the latter half, we'll have plenty of other topics to talk about, such as Dark Tide, Ravenswatch, and Satisfactory, games that we've been dabbling in on the side.
Very, very good. Cheating on Tarkov with other games, of course. I mean, I've still been playing my fair share of EFT, but I finally reached level 46. Actually, reached level 46. So now the dailies are like absolutely they're just cracking out the XP. It's like absolutely insane. I'm nearly, after reaching level 46 on, I think it was Tuesday or something, and then I didn't play on Wednesday, other than to just do the dailies. I'm like nearly level 48 now, without having really played that much. It's just like insane. You know, some of the arena dailies just give you so much XP. Like I posted about it on Twitter, and some people rightly so were like, why does it matter? Like, does it matter? Like, what does the XP for? You know, after level 45, I mean, yeah, there's a couple of other quests, right, that are like high level, but what's the XP for? It doesn't really matter. So I get that sentiment, but just be kind of nice if it was a bit more linear. It's just weird that, you get to level 46, then you can like roll into a daily that looks like semi-difficult, but it's like 136,000 XP. Like my weekly was just like kill 130 people on arena in Last Hero, because I rolled into a Last Hero weekly. And it's just like kill 130 odd people, 350k XP. Just like, whoa, that's like all of level 46. So it's kind of mad. So yeah, the levels are going to come flying now that we're here. It's like the 40 to 46 grind like takes a while. But it's actually nowhere near as hard as it used to be, because there's just millions more quests and there's like XP all over the place. And you've got these arena dailies every day that even though you're not at the bump yet, you're still getting 10, 15 from the three of them, plus 5 or 10 for playing the game. So you only have to play once a day and you just get a lot. So it's it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're like, it'll probably be level 50 before, I don't know, the end of probably by the end of next week or something, which is kind of mad. But yeah, so we're officially into the level 4 traders and kind of into the end game. I still do have to unlock a couple of quests to get some of the good ammo. So I'm still using like very average ammo at the moment for the most part. I've been trying to use MCX CBJ, like 300 Blackout CBJ, because that's on Peacekeeper 4 directly, and it's quite good. But I don't have 5501 yet because I haven't done the quest. I don't have BP yet because I haven't done the quest. There's like loads of them I haven't done the quest for, so I'm kind of stuck.
Now, 55A1, is that the one where you gotta go inside the car dealership? And yes.
Yeah. With the turbo expensive key, there's one use. And you can kind of like sneak your way in, like not use it, right? If you die, that's fine. But like once you've used it, you're like, you now need to get out like as soon as you can so that you don't end up losing it. Because like, I can't remember how much it even is now. It's let me look on this. I don't have a game open, so we get closed section key is the one. Dealership closed section key is currently 2.8 million on the flea market. So you gotta drop that every time.
Yeah.
You want to do it if you die. So that's why people normally do it as a group, but I just tend to end up doing it solo. I think I did it. I think I did it as a group last time, but normally I do these things solo, and I'm just like, well, whatever. But like once you've got a bunch of money, it like stops mattering really.
Did I ever tell you or talk about it must have been last wipe where I tried to figure out how to cheese that quest by glitching into the room and then glitching out? Did I ever tell you that?
Oh, I think you did. Yeah,
I did. Okay.
Did you do it? Did you actually manage to do it? I forget.
I think what ended up happening, it's like I found a pretty reliable method to glitching inside, but glitching out was the way more challenging part. And then I found something that was like so finicky. It all, surprise, surprise, it all revolved around mantling. But and
was this during the period where you could still go through like the doors on Shoreline Resort or something? Was it that period?
No, this was after that too. But see, this is the thing I'm remembering now is I did all this on offline, and then I went to online and tried it, the first the method that I used to get in, which was like super reliable. Like I had it down, I had it like mastered. It was not working. And it was even giving me, I noticed at the top right, it was giving me a disconnect error. So I think BSG, has further refined that issue related to glitching like that. So I think I ended up just doing it normally, if I recall. Like just got the key because it might have been on sale from like an event or something. Because there's I can't remember. It's been so long ago. But anyways, it was like, I mean, I spent like hours in the offline, like dedicated to trying to crack this thing. So I was like, I know it's possible. There's got to be a way.
I love it. I love the dedication.
Yeah. All
There's
for
always a
nothing.
way. These things are so glitchy. Yeah. You remember when people could get onto the roof of Pinewood and stuff? Like when Mantling came out, like we knew that it would be full of issues. But I mean, a lot of that stuff's been fixed now, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not too bad. The only thing that drives me crazy is rocks now, just not working half the time.
Yeah, I think the really bad one that wasn't like a friendly bug. You know how there's like bugs that you hate and bugs that are like, oh, that's a good bug, was the one where you would mantle on streets near the checkpoint. What is that one called? With like the oh gosh, I can't remember. It doesn't really matter, but it's like a little tiny fence, and then it's like proceed over the fence like a little hill that kind of like slopes up. But you would, if you mantled over the fence, you would just fall through the ground and go under the map.
It's the I'm dying and I need to save my loot.
Yeah. You'll never take me alive.
Exactly. So, Tarkov this week has been dominated by the Mortar event. I don't remember whether, when did this actually begin? I actually can't remember. I think, did it begin last time when we were talking?
I think so, yeah.
I think it had already started. They posted a notice saying that the in-game event, the Mortar Strike in Escape from Tarkov, is available for completion until October the 6th. So that is Sunday. So again, by the time this goes out, the event will be over and it'll be finishing at 10 o'clock UK time, 5 a.m. Eastern. So it's actually basically you have until Saturday really to complete it. The events, the achievement, and the tasks will not be available for obtaining and completing once the event is over. The Mortar Strike signaling device, which we'll talk about in a second, will be temporarily unavailable for obtaining. Temporarily, it says. And Mortar Strikes will still occur on occasions, but less frequently. So the deal with this quest is you don't have to complete like the whole thing to do it. This is the one. Oh yeah, I think had I literally just come off the back of like trying to complete the first one and just I'd been blown up and it didn't count.
Yes.
I think that's what had happened. Yeah, I remember now. Because I tried to like run into the thing. It says like just run into the mortars, and I did that, and then it was just like no, it doesn't count. And I got hit on the head with the mortar and died. And I was annoyed because it just didn't count. So I went and did it like off stream. I just like ran into the sawmill and just sat in the sawmill, like the great, like big grey building there, and just waited while the mortar strike lands overhead. Because like if you're in the bunker or something, then it's kind of fine. Yeah, so like after that, the next like difficult task is you have to get so after the mortar's finished, you get an airdrop that comes down and there's these radar parts inside. So that's quite easy. They're like 3x3 and you have to hand like 2 of those in. So you either just have to go into raid with a big bag or just do it on the scav twice or something. That's kind of what I ended up doing. But then you had to get 2 of these other items too, called the Garrizont, which, oh god, the Garrizont. It's going to haunt me forever, this thing. A lot of people were just like, oh, is it like is it like reference to like Grey Zone or something? And then some people were saying, apparently, I mean, I've just got to take their word for it. Some people were saying that in Russian, apparently Garrizont means horizon, and that it might actually be a real thing. And this Garrizont item, it's called the Garrizont Portable Electronic Warfare Device, and it basically says this device suppresses satellite navigation system signals within several kilometer radius. Sometimes these umbrellas can be more important than good body armor. And the most painful part about the Garrizont is that the only place that you can find it is on probably the 2 most obnoxious places possible to put it in the game, except for maybe labs, which is on rogues without a guaranteed spawn chance and on the goons with a guaranteed spawn chance. So it's like, okay, nice. Like you're kind of cursed as to what to do. And you only have to get 2 of them for this first bit. But it's so painful because you're just like, okay, well, I have to kill rogues and get the Garry's-on item off them, and it doesn't always spawn. Or,
Yeah.
which means going to Lighthouse or going to the water treatment facility, right? Which I've like ranted about so often. Or go and kill the goons. And some people are like, oh yeah, just go and kill the goons on customs. And I'm just like, yeah, with the 8% spawn chance, like, are you absolutely out of your
Yeah.
mind? Like, I'm gonna run 12 customs raids for the chance to see them once
Yeah, a bit
and then kill
misleading.
them? Like, no, like I'm not gonna do that. Like the Lighthouse, and I hate to even say this, but Lighthouse is better, right? It's easier to do it. And I like rubbed my face against this for a day, and I did not get a single one. I killed rogue after rogue after rogue after rogue. People were in chats being like, "Oh, I've just watched Willers do the quest, and the first two rogues had 2 Gary's odds," and I was just like, "For God, like why? That's so annoying. I don't hear that. Don't tell me. This sucks." I must have killed like, I mean, I completed like, as I don't normally go to Lighthouse and do rogues, right? So I completed like the 10 rogue kill quest from Jaeger. Like I did loads of random quests along the way. I think I even did the Prapper one. So I think I killed 15, 16 rogues, and I did not get a
Wow.
single Gary's on device out of the rogues at all, which was like the worst kind of RNG, right? It's just like I'm in the worst spot on the map, doing the bit that I don't like doing, and then I have no control over whether it's going to spawn or not. And then like you got to like get out, right? Getting out of the rogue camp is also not that easy as PMC, especially when there's scavs everywhere. And I was like, oh, this is so annoying. So the second day, I was like, right, we've got a different approach. We're going to play scav this time instead, and it was much better, right? Like it just showed up more problems about Lighthouse and why Lighthouse sucks and why just the whole balance of that map is completely screwed, in my opinion. Like playing Scav is like infinitely more fun on Lighthouse. Like every time you go on to Scav on Lighthouse, even if you killed the rogues before, you are not like you're not aggroed by the rogues in the next raid. So you could just wander around, do what you like. And like rogue aggro, for those of you who are not like 100% sure, because it's not obvious, and smashing your face against it also doesn't really tell you. But rogue aggro is based on like a distance. So you have to get within a certain distance of them to aggro. Now, if they are aggroed with you as PMC, I think you have to complete 3 raids without aggroing them, and then they go back to normal. If you're USEC, obviously Bear, they're always angry with you, just like no matter what you do as Bear, so they'll shoot you from like crazy distances. But with Scav, every single time you can just like wander about. So half the time, because the rogues are predominantly like the ground rogues seem to be a lot less prevalent right now, but because the rogues are mostly on the buildings, there are some ground rogues, but they're mostly on the buildings. You can just like walk around inside the rogue base kind of freely until you go and shoot one of them. Pretty much, like you can annoy them by being too close to them, but and they don't shoot AI scavs either unless they get like really close. I did actually witness AI scav fight a rogue in the rogue camp for the first time, which is really weird because one of the guys, I think he must have been like disrupted by his thing and by like a PMC or whatever, got shot and like came down, and he like bumped into an AI scav like directly. They were like 3 meters away from each other, and then they aggroed to each other, and then the rogue shot at the scav, and the scav killed him, which was really funny. So the basic scav just like murdered this like rogue right in front of my very eyes, because I thought I was witnessing like another player scav killing them, and I went over and it was just this like AI scav going like turning on the spot, making foot crunches, and I was like, oh, there's literally the AI fighting. That's super weird. I've never seen that before. And yeah, so that was very strange. But yeah, so, like it's just infinitely easier playing as a scav. It's just so much easier. You could just run around, you could do what you like, you can have fun, you can run up, you can shoot the rogues in the back of the head, because half the time, even the ones that like technically probably should aggro to you, they don't. Like the one on so the buildings from west to east goes building 1, building 2, building 3. On building 3, which is the one closest to the mountainside, there's the gunner on there. He basically never gets off. And the same thing with, I think, the corner of building 2, like the western corner of building 2, like basically never gets off. So you can just like walk up to the back of him with an SKS or the scav and just shoot him and just take his whole kit. So then you've got like, oh, I've got a rogue kit now. Okay, great. It's like an M4 or, whatever, right? Like an SR25 or like who knows, like all sorts of stuff. And then you can just like wander around, because even after killing the rogues, the regular scavs won't shoot at you. So again, it's 10 times easier from that perspective. Whereas like as soon as you set foot in there as PMC, you've got like players shooting, player scavs, or whatever. Like it's completely insane. So I played a little bit offline just to like test my theory out. I went to go and kill some of the rogues, found a Gary's on one of the rogues and left. And so I started my next stream up with one already in the bag. And I like went in. I think we did 2 different ones. I was just like playing PMC on other maps and then going back to Lighthouse as scav. And didn't have much luck actually. Like either the rogues were already dead or they'd been looted or whatever. And this is a this is a short that is going to be coming up soon, which we were leaving and going to the grotto at this island or whatever it's called. And there's a guy, and I'm like, oh, there's a guy there. But he's walking like incredibly slowly, like so slowly. It's unbelievable. And I was like, what? I was like, is he hurt? Is he got his broken leg or something? I was like, do I have any painkillers? Can I help him out? And I was like, I don't have any painkillers. And then someone in chat was just like, kill him. And I was like, like this.
The Palpatine, kill him.
I know. But do it. It's like, and then the sort of the thought into my mind, and I was just like, what has he got? I was like, what has this guy got? Like, he doesn't look hurt. And he was like throwing his bag on the floor, like getting his salad back. And I was like, oh dear. And he was like so close to the extract as well. I was just like I actually feel quite bad about this, but let's just do it. And like, I've used my scav karma as a resource during this event quite a bit. I've killed 3. Like, I never kill other scavs, and I've killed at least 3. One defending myself with a radar part on reserve. One defending myself with a Garizont, because I was just like, I don't know if that guy's just going to peek and kill me. I don't know if it's a PMC. So like, as soon as he peeked, I just shot the guy, right? And then this one, which was pure evil, and killed this guy with like, I didn't know what he had in his bag. I went over and he had like tank battery in there, and I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of sad for that. I'm sad for him because of that, because that is annoying. Like, if you haven't had one out of the moonshine, you do finally find one. It takes forever to get out. He was playing Scav. I was like, oh, this sucks. And but then looked through the rig, and there it was, the Garizont. So we found the second Garizont item on this random Scav. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, the Scav quests have just been like, well, the Scav raids, sorry, I should say, not quests, but the Scav raids have just been like way more enjoyable to play than PMC. Going into the road camp in particular, it's just like night and day, right? It's like playing as PMC, you almost feel compelled to play at nighttime, which I also don't really like. I've complained about this before, right? It's like the AI is so busted, you then have to play night to counter them, because otherwise their vision range is like so crazy.
Yeah.
So then you're there at nighttime, like full on, like feather filter on. I did actually start doing that as well, by the way, which is like kind of interesting. Like, I've never done it before. I've always resisted. I hate fiddling with my settings, but people are like, oh, we can't really see on stream. And I was like, okay, let's try it. Max brightness, max feather, and everyone's like, oh, this is great. And like, then the stream looked great because the encoding was great. I was just like, oh, this is actually working out. So did that, but then I'm just like not really enjoying myself. You know, I'm like doing the thing, but like I hate doing it. So it's really like puts me off. But yeah, Lighthouse just continues to suck. You know, I've been doing a little bit more, like yesterday after doing the Garizont bit. I'll talk a bit more about the quest in a second, but I'll let you have a turn in a minute. But and I've been trying to find CFDM radios, and I was going into chalets, and I literally just like didn't get to shoot my gun for an hour and 20 minutes because I'd like clearing, do one final peek. There's the guy who one-taps me. And like I had no footsteps, right? So I'm just like, just clearing like sensibly and deliberately, and then I'm like, okay, we'll go, run this way. We'll go up the usual path. I like start to make it up the mountain bit next to the village. As soon as I like, peek out, there's a guy up there, one tapped, like dead again. I was just like, man, I died like so many times just rubbing my face against the lighthouse to people. Just like, I had no audio. They were completely stationary. Like, it's just like, so painful. So like, I gave up and went to do other stuff because I just got fed up of it. And that was to try and find 2 FDM radios, but dude, it sucks. Honestly, it sucks. Like, I don't even know what they could do to fix them up at this point. I don't even know what they could do.
I like how when you were describing your encounter with that scav, you used the words, and then you're just describing all your events as a scav, and you used the words, and then I used my scav karma resource. It's just hilarious to me thinking about it as a resource. I mean, yeah, good times.
We just don't use it for anything else. I'm like nowhere near 6 either, so I'm like 2.5 or something, because I don't really use the car extracts that much. I don't use them. Like, I use them when I need to, as opposed to like purposefully trying to go for. I know some people like purposely try to go for them to get to 6 vents relatively quickly, but I just kind of like do them as and when I'm like nearby and it makes sense. So I'm like, very middling in terms of scav rep. So I'm just kind of, well, I can lose the 0.1, if I'm going to get something useful out of it, or it's like quest stuff. If that's the thing, if it's like irreplaceable quest progression, like I'm taking the negative 0.1, like definitely. Like Garizont, radar parts, like saving myself, whatever. I'm definitely going to do that. But honestly, dude, like I just don't see. I just don't think player scavs, and honestly AI scavs, they just shouldn't be in the road camp, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on the. Like, yeah, the player scav part, even the scavs is kind of like crazy. Like, it doesn't, I mean, I guess it makes whatever, you can like justify anything, but I just think it's kind of insane because it just feels so disproportionate to the scav, which is already like disproportionately in favor, like, of the player, right? It's like PMC or scav, which one am I going to choose? Well, I don't know. I guess you can make an argument, but like you literally get a free chance to get something out of the raid of value, and then you get to go and walk around freely. Like it's like 5 meters, and if you stare at them too long, then they'll like shoot at you. But the rogues, but otherwise, they're just like, yeah, just walk up behind me and double barrel to the back of my head, la 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 la, and it's just I don't know. It's Meanwhile, if you're PMC, it's like you're 150 meters away, and they just like beam you a full mag of M856 or something, and it just like shreds your stomach. So something annoying happens. Maybe you get headshotted. It's kind of, to me, that aspect is really insane. I never really used much Scav Lighthouse, mainly because I just hated the map so much. I was just like, I don't even want to play the map as Scav. But I had a friend of mine that showed me Scav Lighthouse, and I was like, wait a minute, you could just walk around the water camp freely? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I had no idea you could do this at Player Scav. Like, that's bizarre to me. And I think at that time they were still like going, I mean, this was many moons ago, back when Lighthouse first came out, but they were still kind of like flip-flopping on what the aggro was for the scavs, or maybe there was a bug, or like if you killed a rogue in your PMC and you went to your scav, then they were still hostile to you. I think that was the case, actually, which I think now they may have fixed that, but yeah, I don't know. It's something about that just really doesn't feel good at all. I mean, it's great if you're scavving there, I guess, but I just, ugh.
Yeah, that's the thing. It just makes me not want to play PMC on that map.
Yeah.
For that particular, especially for going in water treatment.
Yeah.
But it's like it's one of those weird things where, well, it's not even that strange. Like, it's obvious when you think about it that scavving just gets progressively easier the harder it is for PMCs on each map, right? It's like scavving streets is also pretty easy, because I would say streets is like, I like streets a lot, but streets is pretty challenging as a player. There's lots of scavs, there's lots of like open areas where scavs and snipers will shoot at you and stuff like that. So you have to like path very deliberately through streets as a player in order to not just get like plinked at randomly by scavs. And that means that as a scav, you can just kind of run around and do whatever you like. And that's sort of like the same thing with Lighthouse too, because there's only very specific routes around, honestly, the whole map, actually. Like, being a PMC on the road is like a death sentence. Nobody ever goes there. So you've got the two paths, either the beach side or mountainous side. And then people typically go over the main bridge on the east into the road camp, or maybe up into the mountains, or maybe on the west edge. But like, that's pretty rare. I did that a couple of times, but that was because people killed the front gunners already. So I went west, because I actually prefer going in west, but because I'm a bit weird. But I'm also not very good at Lighthouse and killing the rogues. But so, because then the PMCs are like constrained into these very tiny little areas, if you're walking around the water treatment facility like outside, with the exception of snipers, which is like dramatically less than they used to be because of the claymores up on the hill, you're very unlikely to be shot at, actually. Like, playing scav is like pretty easy, and it's the same thing as I said with streets. You can like just run around up and down the streets as scav normally on the streets, because the PMCs are all like hiding away, like trying to minimize their sightlines on them from all the scavs all over the place, and it's just like relatively straightforward to do. Whereas I think like other maps are like kind of less good for scav, partly because of the loot concentration as well. Like, Lighthouse is still pretty good for loot, streets is still pretty good for loot, but then, and it's hard for PMCs, so that combination makes it just like kind of tricky. But yeah, I don't know, just like, I feel like something does need to change with scav in particular. Like, after playing it, I enjoyed it a lot more playing scav, but it just showed up all of the problems with the map for playing as a PMC, and about how like annoying it is and how difficult it is. But it's just because of the layout of the map, it's just really difficult to know what to do, right? It's like, the map should really be changed so that Lighthouse is in the middle. Sorry, the water treatment facility is in the middle and PMCs spawn around the edge. That's really the way that the map would like make sense. It'd make a lot more sense that way, because then you'd like be fighting around. It'd be a bit like the way woods used to be, for example. So like, sawmills in the center, everybody goes there, Sturmers there, and people have like sniping battles over the top of the sawmill. So like, going in the sawmill is like a death sentence, which is basically the way that Lighthouse is anyway. But it's just one of those things where, because everybody all starts on the same edge, and it's so restricted on the routes through to it, it's like everybody ends up just like meeting in the same pathways, and it's just impossible to move around the map without catching rogue aggro, without catching other PMCs, without scavs shooting at you. It's just like, it's so annoying. But yeah, I had another funny one where I just was like let's just scav Lighthouse because it's been interesting like seeing the rogues and stuff. Like you're kind of playing like creative mode or whatever on scav, and so you're like able to be in the just actually experience. Like if you're bad at Lighthouse, start playing scav on there because it'll like teach you about where the PMCs go, where you hear the gunshots from, and like because like it's partly one of the issues with Lighthouse for me is that whenever I play the rogue camp, I'm trying to follow like some strict guide, but then like and then I get shot at by a PMC, and now what? Like the guide is like, you got to play it like fast and loose. But because I'm not that experienced and never have been, it's then like, what do I do now, right? I'm not following this strict guide, which is like, oh, you go here and you peek this corner and you shoot this rogue and then you move into building 3. And it's just like, this is fine if you're on your own and there's no one else there. But how often is that the case? I've got some guy with, APs. I've got the guy with like 366 APM, like shooting down at me with some annoying VPO, and then some other guy's got an M700 in it, and there's another dude shooting at me with M62 tracer out of a FAL or whatever, and it's like, and I'm just like, I'm trying to do the sheath route, and everyone in chat's just like, just watch the YouTube guide. I'm like, oh god, it's just like drives me crazy. I'm just like, man, it's just so difficult, and it's at night time, and I can't see anything, and it's just really annoying. So like playing scav is like teaching me a lot more about like where the roads go when they're shot at, and just like being able to see the map and just like experience the map a bit more whilst being able to like walk around, because you've got this sort of plot armor of being a scav. You got invincibility,
plot armor.
Yeah. So it's just it's crazy. So it's actually like it is definitely helping. I'm getting better at it. Maybe I'll become a Lighthouse main and just get really good at the road camp or something. But I don't know, man. It's really tough. It's really tough. Like so much needs to change. Like I think just no scavs in there for a start would be a good idea. Just like get the rogues to kill the scavs. Like you can even keep the like rogues don't aggro with you between raids or whatever, but like you shouldn't be allowed to just like set foot in there and just like wander about. Like I think they should just kill you if you turn up. Like you can walk around the edge, that's okay. You can walk around the edge, but if you're like in the middle of the road camp, like looting their crap, like they should just shoot the hell out of you. Like
that just feels like a big disconnect for me. It's like
exactly.
We've taken control of this area. Oh yeah, scavs roam around. We're cool. Oh yeah, loot this high-tech military radio. No biggie. We don't need it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Locals arrived. So after doing that, you then have to do, just talking about the mortar thing again, you then have to do the next one, which is called Cream of the Crop.
Cream of the Crop. What the hell?
Yeah. Where... Oh, wait, which is this? I think have I missed one out? Oh, no, this is the... Wait, is this... Oh, yeah, so the one you have to do next is... So Hours by Right is the one we have to get the 2 Garys. So you have to get radar stuff first, then you get the Garys and kill the rogues, but the killing the rogues wasn't a problem, it's getting the 2 Garys ons. Then you have to do Provide Cover, sorry. The Provide Cover is the next one. That was... These radar station parts were coming down in the airdrops. You had to stash them inside the old sawmill hangar on wood. So it was basically it was the big shed in the old sawmill section. It was like, I can't really describe it. It's got like a little bunker in it, but it's like in the old sawmill bit over by Northern UN roadblock. There's a like a wooden shack with a set of stairs goes up. There's like ammo. There's like a weapons crate in there and stuff. It's next to village. Do you know where I mean? Like if you were at village and you go over the hill the other side, there's like a big container, and then if you carry on towards UN roadblock a little bit, there's like a set of wooden shacks onwards.
Wait, this
that thing.
I cheated. That one. I know you're talking about that.
It's in there. Yeah, it's in there. So you like plant the thing in there. That's not too bad because the radar station parts are like spawning onwards because it's a mortar place. So you can technically, like, you get given a radar station spare parts and a Gary to do the quest raids. You don't have to go and get another one, thank God. But technically, even if you did lose the radar parts, like the mortar strikes are happening onwards, so you could go to a mortar strike, grab the radar, and then bring it to the thing and then put it in there. So it's not too bad. The Gary's on one is annoying though. I mean, it is technically on. Well, it's on shoreline, I suppose, which is slightly problematic. But you get given one of these Gary's on, so you have to go up the weather station tower and plant it in the room there. So that one's like a bit scary because it's like you have to be on shoreline, be in the right place on shoreline, go to weather station, run up the like metal stairs into the top of the tower, and then plant them in there. Fortunately, I managed to do that straight away. And then the one after that is Cream of the Crop, and this is the second to last quest. And there's like, once you're on that quest, you basically have to go around and get like yellow flare from somewhere on the map, and you fire that up into the air, And once you do, there's like another mortar strike that like is on your position. It's a bit like the mortar flare. Like you get a bunch of flares, right, which like fire a mortar strike on your position. The yellow flare fires a mortar strike on your position, but then
Why?
it also drops a crate. It's so crazy. So you pick up this flare, you fire it off, it fires. You run away, it fires mortars. You run back in. There's another crate. It has this like huge item inside. You grab that. This is on Shoreline. You grab that item, which is like 2x3. Then you have to use the transit to Lighthouse, and then you have to stash it in one of the like seaside chalets after doing the transit. So it's like a transit quest. It's actually kind of cool. I quite enjoyed it. I actually thought it was all right. Given also, especially you didn't need like a Gary's-on item or whatever. Like the flares were always there. You could just like wander up, grab a flare, fire the thing. Like it was kind of cool because you could like, well, I've got the flare. Where am I tactically going to like set this off? So I like set mine off by tunnel, grabbed the item, and then went up the side to the transit.
So you can grab it and set it off, and wherever you set off, it will go off in that position.
Yeah, and the mortar strike goes off in that position, and then the drop comes in that position. So it's like you had to like think a little bit.
Yeah.
And then take that to the transit, take it through the transit, and then you're like, oh, you're gonna spawn somewhere on Lighthouse, like anywhere. So it's like, oh my god, like please don't spawn me in like the road camp, like God spawn, because that is like super. I'm gonna have to go around the whole bloody map.
Fight everyone like, rushing towards you.
Exactly. It wasn't. I think I can't remember which one I ended up with. I had like a mediocre one. It was like north, but not too far up that side. But yeah, we managed to make it round, just like super careful, did the thing. And the good thing about this is that one you actually get the achievement for, which is good. So this is like, that's the achievement quest. You get like the highway to the danger zone achievement, which can only be unlocked while the quest is active. There is technically another part after that, if you want to do it as like a stretch task. And that's 25 radar station parts, which is just time consuming. That's not necessarily too hard. And 15 Gary Zonts, Church. 15!
Yikes.
15? I've struggled to get 2. Never mind 15. Like, it's insane. It's insane. So I was like, oh, maybe we could do this as scav. And I went and I found one more, and I was like, nah, we're not doing this. I can't be bothered. You get a PKP, so you can technically finish Gunsmith with it. And you get some other stuff. You get 100,000 XP, like 200k. You get like a load more of these blue signal cartridges. So the blue cartridges just drop a mortar strike at your location. Whether that's useful or not, I don't really know.
I don't know how I mean, I guess maybe like tactical retreat, mortar strike. How long does it take for the mortar strikes to come down once you fire it? 10 seconds.
Enough time for you to get out of the way. So yeah, probably like 20 seconds. They're not that useful because like they go off where you shot them off.
Yes, and everyone's gonna see them. Sort of like, okay, well, I know there's mortar strikes going there, so don't go there.
Yeah. It's a shame there's not like a target designator or something that's a bit more. I mean, you're signaling scavs, so I don't know. It's kind of like in lore, but like maybe you could kill a boss with it or something, like Shell Sturman or something. Like I don't know, man. Or like, what happens if you fire? I haven't tried this. Like, if you fire it like 45 degrees into the air, does it like go over there?
Interesting.
Somewhere else. But then you've got to somehow target that and like know where the max height is, because if you do it too far, it's going to go to the max height and it probably won't trigger.
Oh, there is a max height limit. Yeah, I was going to say, what if you could like aim it at the ground?
Oh yeah, just yeah. Shoot it at someone, they got it stuck to them, they're running around like sticky bomb. Yeah. And to make all of this just even better with the spaghetti that we talked about last week.
My favorite.
Because they messed around with the flares, they managed to make all of the flare extracts not work anymore. And all of the tasks that involve flares also not work. So, you know, there's the one where you have to go to Pinewood and kill a load of entities, then fire off a yellow flare. Like, that stopped working. Klimov Street stopped working. The Ground Zero extract stopped working. And it was like even funnier because you'd have the extract and then you'd fire the thing off and you'd run in and the sniper would just kill you, which is just like the worst kind. And then they turned the exit off. And then they said there was one of these hot fixes, which I know we've got linked, was like in one of the hot fixes they did. They said, oh, we fixed the flares. So now the extract is just, so you can fire the flare and the extract is like off. So you can't extract because you don't get because the exit is like not available. So they're like, oh, it's fixed. And it's just like, you just remove the exit. And the sniper doesn't shoot at you, but you could just like run out of Klimov. So like right to the end, like into the bit where you're not supposed to be.
Game is in beta, no complaining.
Exactly. But I do find it funny. They're just like, oh, we did a flare quest. And it's just like everything else to do with flares ceases to function. It's funny. So Yeah, look, it's been mixed, I would say. Like
Mm.
some of the stuff has been really fun, especially some of the scav shenanigans have been quite fun. But the whole PMC thing has been like so awful on Lighthouse recently that it's just. I mean, I even going back to chalets and being like, right, well, I'll do that bit because I'm at least good at that, and then just like chain dying like 4 times in a row there to
Mm-hmm.
stationary people. I'm just like, maybe the event is like screwing up the flow of the map as well because
Yeah,
like
probably a bit.
10,000 people are trying to do scavenge. Like I had like actually a queue to scavenge the lighthouse when I tried last time. And I was like, oh man, this is like really oversubscribed. Everyone's trying to just like scav in there and do the Garrisons. And then PMCs who are trying to get kills are like not finding anyone because everyone's up at the road camp. It's just like really weird. Lighthouse is like kind of screwed right now. So like maybe it'll be better next week once the event's over. So I might try it again next week. But I got to get these 2 FDM radios again. It's just like I've had so many people be like, oh, I've used your guide for it and it was so good. And it's just like every time I've checked the spots if I haven't been there, and then half the time I get there, I just get one tapped by somebody who's just like already there, or just
Mm.
like stationary. Just like it's just annoying. You just, I just like the map is just so flawed, right? It's just like so many of the spawns where people are like, oh, if I get Southern Road, I literally just leave, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
that part's crazy to
so
me.
it's so boring to like sit in a queue for 6 minutes because some guy on his toaster machine with his
Mm-hmm.
like writing it to floppy disks over there is like 7 minutes to load in. And then I'm in Southern Road, and then I'm just going to leave straight away and then load in and get like it's like 15 minutes before I get to play the game.
Yeah.
It's like the one map that could really benefit from the whole like do stuff while you're matching kind of thing.
It's Lighthouse.
Yeah. Oh god,
Yeah.
I'm just tired of it. I just don't even know what to do. Like it needs more routes. It needs to be more open. Scouts need to make more sense. It's just too restrictive. And so somebody in chat was just like, "Oh, people just need to like people like to complain about it, but they just want to play it the same as all the other maps. Like people just need to adjust or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, there is that like there's like half truth to that in some ways because the map is like how it is. So yeah, you kind of just need to like adapt. But then that's like not mutually exclusive with like the map sucks and needs to be changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can adapt to the map and like do the things, but you're like, well, it's unfun to do the stuff. Like I know what I have to do, so I'm just gonna sit in spawn for 5 minutes
Exactly.
and wait for people to run past me. I'm gonna leave immediately if I get Southern Road.
Exactly.
Just all of this stuff. It's just like the map's just like not well designed for these reasons. Like, yeah, you can get better at like the way it is and just be like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's the player centric view of being just like optimizing what you can out of the hand you're dealt, and then there's
For
the
sure.
step back view of just like we're criticizing this map because it broadly is just not very well designed and kind of sucks. So I think both of these things can be true at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed there. Yeah, and it's what to even say about Lighthouse. I do not miss it one bit. I don't think I could ever. I don't know if I could ever play this map again. I was saying to you earlier before we got started that I really hope that they do rework this map at some point,
Mhm.
because like it is kind of an interesting idea. It's a very like elongated map. It's not very wide. Most maps are pretty square. This one's just like a vertical rectangle, right? And it's
Yeah.
interesting because there's kind of a flow, and I think what they were trying to do, or at least when I look at this, I think, okay, you have like a northern point of interest and a southern point of interest. That being southern being Lightkeeper, and then northern being the water treatment plant. And I think for a period of time it was kind of like that back when Lighthouse was first introduced, opened up.
Mm.
You remember that period?
Kind of, but there wasn't really anything there at the lighthouse.
There wasn't. I mean, it was like loot, but it wasn't like plentiful, And it was like, I don't. I mean, I think they had like. Did they have a mark room then? I can't remember.
Don't think so, but I could be wrong. I never really went there, so.
Yeah, I remember. I'm pretty sure there were saves for sure, but
Mhm.
suffice to say, there was some people that did enjoy that sort of loot route, if you will, And it definitely, in my opinion, made the map feel better just because you didn't have this like funneling flow from one direction to the other, everyone going north. Like, oh man, I wish I could like extrapolate this to another map to like apply it, but there really isn't a map like this. There isn't.
Yeah.
eh, It'd be like a factory if like everyone had to pass through the office. Like you had to go inside the office and come out the other door, and that was like the only
Mm.
way of navigating. The map was split down the middle like that. Like it's the exact same concept. It's like it just funnels everyone north, and it kind of sucks. And it's bizarre that you can spawn Southern Road and take Southern Road, but I guess you could still do the same thing on Shoreline, where you can spawn path to Shoreline, take path to Shoreline. So whatever. But
Yeah, they're kind of modern extracts, aren't they? Like it's the only other map that's sort of similar in some ways is Ground Zero, but you have the underground for the most part. So there's like 2 layers to the map. I think this is the thing. It's just like there's not enough like pathways you can really go down.
Yeah.
Like half the time, like my favorite section is the mountainous side, the 2 chalets,
right.
path to Shoreline, the mountain pass, and like some of the village area. Like that's like my favorite section of the map because it feels like I'm not just going to get shot by a random sniper like while I'm wandering around.
Yep.
There is loot up there. You could do like a pretty good loot run. There's an extract like right there if you've got Red Rebel, which is kind of cool. But it's just if you're, and also that's actually the way into the road camp as well. But there's not really any other way to go. Right? Everybody just goes like north, over the path, or up into the mountains, or whatever. And there's not any way around, and that's like part of the problem. You just don't have enough. There's not enough choices to make. I think like there's choices there, but they're like what are these like not choices? It's like this way you will survive and this way you will die. So you've got 2 choices. Like suck it up, And that's like, well, it means I just can only really go this one way.
Free
the
pass
other way,
over here, and then all trespassers will be shot on the other side. It's like, what are you saying? You got 2 choices, man. Just
yeah. What are you complaining about?
Yeah. Which I mean is kind of interesting because they also, to me, I see 3 clear lanes. You got the middle lane, which is the giant long road that leads all the way up to not Lighthouse, but water treatment plant. Then you got the beach, which similarly kind of leads the same direction. And then you got the mountainous side with the chalets. And there's like, it's like your 3 choices for traversing, and you can like bob and weave in between those if you wanted to, I guess. But like, who's like the road is just like, I want to die territory. You know what I mean? It's like when I've never seen anyone sprint from one side of the road to the other, and if they do, it's probably an AI scav or a player scav, and they're probably getting shot at. Like it's insane. You have to be insane to do that because it's also the low ground between the 2 options, right? Because the beach side
you have nowhere to go.
Yeah, beach side you got like
there's no cover.
There's like cover in quotation marks, that being like vehicles that cover your legs, I guess, because everyone's
like a bus.
Yeah,
maybe you can hide behind, but then what?
Exactly. Yeah, it's really rough.
Killer up, fingers crossed, to just sprint out into the open. It's like
there's just no way. That's just it's basically a path to connect from the beach to the mountainous area. It's basically that. It's a pretty much non-existent path, and then the beach really sucks because, again, same problem. If you're on the beach, there's no cover, so then you have to go navigate on top of the mountains that are there. But like, then you reach the end of the mountain, and it's like, oh, I got to go back down to the beach or the street side, or it's not like a smooth flow. And I guess the same could be said for the mountainous area with the chalets, but like at least there's loot there. You know what I mean? At least there's POIs there. Like the beach has basic like 1-ish, 2-ish spots there. I don't know. Like I feel like there's never anything in these locations. Like sometimes the grotto will have like food inside of it. Occasionally there's like a little like trailer hitch out back that's got like a jacket and maybe some stuff, and sure, along the beach you can like pick up some tape from a broken crate or something, but it's like it's
and then every 4th item you get headshot by somebody on stupid rock.
So sparse. It's a beach, a sandy beach. It's just like open, no cover. It's like I'd rather just be inside the building with walls.
Yeah, and that's what makes that side of the map more interesting. It's like on the beach bit. Well, if you're on the beach, you could be like on the beach and hugged up to the rock, and that's kind of it. And like, where else are you going to go? Or to cross over that, you're then on the road again. When you get to the end of that, there's nowhere to go except the road camp, and there's two gunners looking right at you. You know, yeah, you can get up onto the sniper spot, but there's like not really a great way down from there, other than like back the way you came. Whereas on the chalets part, it's just like, well, you can be in the building, behind the building, one side of the building, on the high ground. You can be in lower chalet, the upper chalet. Right, there's ways to move. Like if you end up in a fight, there's ways to like flank round. Like upper chalet is cool to fight in because there's like a few bits of walls. You can jump into the upper story from the outside, and like there's like lots of different ways that you can like move around. And I think that's the part. Like the rest of the map is just like he who sits still shall winneth the fight, you know, and it's just like basically that. You just wait for somebody to like wander in and you kill them. Whereas that's not the case in chalets. You can hear each other first, and then you're like, oh, somebody's here. Oh, well, most of the time, unless you get one shot like I've been getting recently. But yeah, I don't know. It's just painful. It's just painful. Like my recent experience in the chalets is just unlucky. Like normally I have at least a decent experience there, but I think, yeah, a lot of people are just like slowed down to a complete crawl on Lighthouse because like everybody's just sick of dying all the time, and it's hard. It's just the map's just difficult.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
for me, that's the other nail in the coffin is that because everyone has to flow north, it means the further north you spawn, you're at an advantage asterisk, assuming you don't have like a quest or like a reason to go south, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like at a kind of a neutral position, spawning further north is generally better because if you spawn south, it's just like I don't know. I guess you could re-roll or do something and come back, but it. My main point is the further north you spawn, it's like okay. Great example is there's a spawn kind of near the helicopter, the crash helicopter, in between like the first chalet. And you could just like, in theory, just sit there and wait because you know. I mean, if anyone's for whatever reason like gonna come that way, they kind of have to path. Like if someone from the beach wanted to like cross the street and go over, they basically have to path through you. So like,
Mm-hmm.
and then the thing can be said true about the guy that spawns near the mountain pass. It's like he could just turn around and be like, "I'm just gonna sit here," because I know people. This is kind of like the default. Like I've never seen anyone. Okay, guys, welcome to today's YouTube video. I'm gonna show you how to get into the lighthouse. Let me just walk down the middle of the road, sprint all the way here. It's like no, everyone goes down the right side of the map near the mountain pass. I've never like maybe the beach occasionally if you're like spawned there. I guess
Yeah.
you could. It's just I've done it a few times, but it doesn't feel as good because the left side too kind of sucks once you get up to water treatment. Like you do got some mountainous stuff here, but I've never really liked the approach on the right side feels better in general. I guess because right side peeking is a bit more simpler than having to like swap shoulders and do this and that. And now all
It's
the
got a
guides
freaking
revolved
wall.
around right side peeking too.
I think that's why, because it's partly right side peeking, and you've got a whole wall there that like runs all the way up to
Yeah,
building 3, so you like can't be seen. You know,
yeah.
it would be very different if that wall, like if that wall just wasn't there, and it was a gate instead that was open.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would make that side of the map almost impossible to get into. But because there's a wall there, you don't get seen by building 2. That's like the critical reason why it's like that. Whereas there is no wall on the western side; it's a chain link fence, and you're just running down that side. So which makes it like kind of annoying. Yeah, I don't honestly. Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah, I would say great
I don't
idea.
even.
Kind of a miss on the execution. I think it's like a cool. It actually reminds me a lot of like a classic Counter Strike map. You got like 2 bomb sites. You got 3 lanes. You know, attackers, defenders. Like, and I like how they like kind of coined it the sniper map. Right? It's like
Yeah,
the sniper map, but it just needs tweaking of some sort. I don't know what it is. It just needs something.
yeah. I don't know. Speaking of fun scav I've had like some just like hilarious scav stuff. I was like playing Scav on Factory, and Scav on Factory has been really weird this way because the map is like so different. I almost always find, I used to say like I just never find any PMCs. I go in there to like hunt PMCs. Like I almost always find PMCs there now. Like people are staying in raid longer. I think there's like more stuff to loot. People are like almost always there. When I spawn in at 13 minutes left, there's like almost always a PMC somewhere. And I heard all this like commotion going on. And I was like, oh, it sounds like a PMC that's going to have a look. It's going to have a look. And this guy like runs out of the bottom floor of the office, and I like catch a very small glimpse of him, and I'm just like, oh, be careful, be careful. I like catch another glimpse of him as he's like running through. This is up towards which one is it? Gate 0, like the big metal balcony thing in just outside of the office, on that side, like not the vending machine stair side, and I'm like outside the office. And I'm like peeking through those little like holes in the wall window bit. And the second window, I'm just like, hold on, this guy's like got nothing on him. This is like super weird. So he like comes round, and I'm like, well, I'm not worried now. So he comes round with just like the collar tie like truncheon thing. And I was like, what is going on here? And he was just kind of like this. And I was like, okay. So I pulled out my like scav knife, and then we had a freaking duel. And he missed, and I stabbed him in the chest and killed him. I was like, what? And he had like nothing on him. He was like level 40 something. I was like, is he just like going around factory just trying to duel scavs? Like what? I think it's just so bizarre. And the fact that we won as well against the Baton, I was like, okay, cool. This is good. The random like Counter-Strike knife fights coming back into play. The experience, from playing gun game recently when we've been at LANs and stuff. It's just like, aha. Yeah, like a couple of knife duels have been in there with people. So that was funny. But yeah, it's just like it's all been scav funsies recently. It's been really good. It's been good. Yeah, I had another really good scav one. This is like, again, another just like random Lighthouse one. Just wandering around, just doing whatever, looting boxes and stuff. Loot one box, weapons box. Oh, well, let's just see what's in there. I've got a crap gun. Oh, it's an M60E4. Fantastic.
Ooh.
So I spent the rest of the raid like wandering around trying to put the bipod on stuff down in like, I was just in water treatment. This shows the absurdity of plus scav and Lighthouse, right? I'm just like in the middle of water treatment. Like most of the rogues are dead, I think, at this point. Maybe there's like one left or something up on building 3. But I was just like wandering around, like, trying to put the thing down, like, I can't look up enough. Okay, let's try this like set of, pipe, like concrete pipes or whatever. Okay, I could get this angle in the end. I'm just like wandering about, just like completely free of any like worry or anything. And I hear like some commotion on building 3, like someone shooting, and I'm like, we saw this like PMC run up the staircase. I was like, I'm pretty sure that was a PMC. Like, no, he got to come down at some point. Like there was a way down, but like we heard shooting. I'm sure he's probably going to come down the normal way. So I spent I was like 5-10 minutes like wandering about, testing different spots to like snipe this guy as he comes down the stairs. I'm like, sure, he's got to come down at some point. Eventually, as I'm like testing another spot, he's like starts to come down, and it just open up with the M60 just because it's got a full box of M80 in it.
Oh my
I killed
God.
the guy in like 2 hits or something, and I was like, whoa, he like died super quick. Like went up, he's just like decked out like PMC with like 15 minutes left in the raid, and it was just like, that's why this sucks, right? Because like I'm just here, like I'm messing about, and it's like almost impossible for this dude to like move around the map properly. He's like had a huge fight up there with another scav or whatever, and I'm just like messing about in the middle and just like kill him on the staircase. I'm like, it was so easy, right? Like I've got nobody shooting at me. There's like no aggro on me, like no worry about rogues, no scavs shooting at me, nothing. And yeah, I was like, I kind of feel for him, but he didn't have any Gary Zonts though. He didn't have any Gary Zonts.
He goes out here just like, la 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 la, rainbows and sunshine. Ooh, I could put this here. I can mount this. Meanwhile, the PMC, grenade out. It's like World War III, mortar circuit incoming.
The gif of the guy on the keyboard just sweating. And then I'm just like, do, just kill the guy in like 3 hits. Just insane. With the iron sight M60. The big, tall, kind of like pillar thing.
Mm-hmm.
So funny.
He did it with the bipod mounting too?
I actually can't remember in the end. I've got the clip. So I'll bring that up soon. But yeah, it's just another random one. But I can't remember whether we did with the bipod. I feel like maybe. I don't remember. Maybe not. The thing's quite controllable because it's only 550 RPM. It's like so low fire rate.
That's true, yeah.
That it actually doesn't jump that much. It's kind of nice. Lots of people just like run it back. It's just like, I can't be bothered. I'll just sell it. You can buy them on the flea for like 70k, so you can just kind of get them whenever.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. Certainly been an interesting time. So yeah, like now it's just a case of like I'm trying to get to Lightkeeper, right? This is like where I'm at. That's why I'm at the COF DM radios, CFDM radios, SIG-C, whatever they're called. Again, because I finally did chumming. Because that was like the one that was like gatekeeping me in like a bunch of tasks on the street. So finished that. So now we've got to find the CFDM radios, and which means basically more Lighthouse. Because like you can do it on reserve, but I think you can technically get them in Concordia, but apparently the loot in Concordia is like a lot less good this wipe. There's like not much in there at the moment. Because you used to be able to get them in there. You can get them in reserve sometimes. I have had one in like the King building, I think it is, like upstairs. So you can get them there. but the most likely place is Lighthouse. But it's just
Yeah.
painful, and people are like, oh, but there's all the rare
Uh,
spawns in the rogue camp, and I'm
I
like,
just.
yeah, good luck,
I mean, the one
you
thing
know.
I will say, if you do get very good at it, you can get bitcoins, which is and they're like moderately more common than atypical maps, you know? Like, there is a very unique loot pool on Lighthouse, it feels like. But I did that one time. Like, I just grinded Lighthouse to get those CMFD radios, and it was just torturous. Like, I almost, like, gave up. Like, I don't even, it was like the last attempt on, like, a scab. I mean, I must have played, like, God, 50 scav raids. Like, it was, and PMC is too. And eventually I just, like, gave that up. I was just like, because I mean, it was taking me so long on scav just to find one that I was like, I just need to be the first one there on PMC. Like, that's just it, right?
Yeah,
Ah, yeah, it was torturous. I seriously cannot put myself through that again. Like, any lighthouse,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's probably a bare minimum tolerance I have. Like, maybe long road, stuff like long road I could do maybe as like a bare minimum. Pretty like easy stuff. Anything that's like, going here or like loot for this item, I just can't be bothered. I just can't be bothered. Can't do it.
yeah. Yeah, the RNG is just insane. At least you don't need vertexes anymore for that quest. Although, like, ironically, I actually did that one. Of all the quests, like, that's the one that's actually ended up being done. The one saving grace I would say is that once you have the quest open, you then can technically get them as spawns in the cult circle now, because you get open quest items
Oh,
spawning in the cult circle. So it's at least worth doing that to try and get a head
huh.
start. That's like one of the vertexes I got out of that. So like that's useful at least. The one part that I like screwed myself with though was accepting. There's two quests on Ragman. I don't even know whether you've seen them. I can't remember how long they've been in the game for. The two drip out quests where you have to hand in like LBT armors and rigs or whatever, and then the other one is like another manufacturer. But you have to hand in like 100 for one of them, like 50 for the other, something crazy like that. And I accepted them, so now I keep getting like random LBT crap in the cult circle. It's like, oh, we found your quest item, and I'm like, no, I should just like not have accepted those quests because the rewards are like terrible. They don't do anything, but all they're doing is like diluting the pool of quest items that I might get given, which is
Yeah.
really annoying. So I do regret doing that. Actually, I regret accepting those.
I don't remember like 50 rigs. I don't remember that at
They're
all.
really annoying. Yeah, they're called Drip Out 1 and 2. Drip Out 1, which one's that one? Drip Out 1, you need to kill 100 Scav Raiders and hand in 50 Wartech branded
Yeah.
equipments fine in raid, right? And you get like clothing. It's literally it. There's like no XP, no money, nothing. It's just like Bear Classic, Ragman 2, Bear Writer, Ragman 2, and then USEC Ranger Green Upper and Lower, Ragman 2. And then Drip Out 2 is equally annoying. It's 100 rogues and 50 family made LBT brand equipments, like slicks and the big rigs and stuff. So that's like really hard. And that you get like some more clothing. I should like just not have accepted it. I should never have accepted these quests. I don't know why I accepted them. So now I've like screwed up my cult circle. And I keep just getting like I keep getting like 5 goon rigs. I've had that 3 times. It's so annoying.
Uh, yeah, I mean, if I did see that quest, I definitely didn't was like not attempting at all. That just sounds like way too much.
Yeah.
Way
But like
too
when do you like
much.
not accept a quest? You know what I mean? Like you always accept them.
Yeah, I feel like I would have remembered that. I must have not been playing whenever that quest was introduced because I do not recall that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just like it's really funny. Something's just like randomly popped up on my Twitter feed, which is the friendly guy saying, "How to get free mules, actually not bait." And he's just like, "Have you had a really long raid on Shoreline and really heavy loot? Do you want to extract with little weight on your bag?" It's just like, "Yeah, got a trick for you. Drop your bag and switch with your teammate. Don't search the bag. Only the weight of the bag counts until you search it. So you can like loot
Oh,
up as a duo, swap bags, and then just like take each other's bags to extracts with like no weight in them, and then swap back."
huh.
Super weird.
What if that's a
It
new
must have.
bug?
Yeah, I think so because I think it happened with the change this wipe. So like now you can't place loot inside bags until you've searched them, which
Mm-hmm.
is actually quite annoying. it sort of makes sense, but it's also just quality of life wise, just like kind of annoying. So they've
Mm-hmm.
changed the methodology in some way, and I don't know whether it's like an anti-cheat thing,
Mm-hmm.
as in like your client actually doesn't know what's in the bag anymore until you look in it. It would make sense for that to be the case
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people have been talking about that for ages. It's like, why does all the loot spawn in containers broadly before, why does the client know every loot? But like, it's half the problem with like radar. Like they know that the LEDX is in the med bag or the duffel or whatever because you your client knows everything. Like, you should have to check back with the server to get those spawns really. So maybe it's something to do with that. But yeah, apparently a glitch with that then, according to TFG, is that you don't have any weight on any of the stuff that you haven't searched, which is real strange because I guess like you don't know it exists, right? So you don't even know your client doesn't know what the weight, like that would make sense to me. Your client doesn't know what the weight of the items is because it's not communicated until you do
Yeah.
the search.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right? It must be anti-cheat
Yeah.
or anti-radar of some description. It has to be. That sounds very likely to me.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's basically it for Tarkov Land. So we're just going to chat about other stuff then. I saw you playing Dark Tide, which excited me because I know you, because we talked before about 40k and you're not really a 40k person, right? And Dark Tide's like actually quite like in the weeds of 40k, I would say, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the lore, because it's like you're like the sort of secondary or tertiary characters like down the hierarchy in terms of like 40k ness. Like you're still, obviously epic in some fashion, but like nothing compared to like the forces that you would play in the tabletop, for example. You're just kind of like a grunt in like the
Mm-hmm.
military.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. But in some ways, that sort of makes it like easier to get into, I think, because it's sort of more generic. You're in the universe, but without necessarily like having to know everything about like the different chapters of Space Marines to understand what's going on. How much do you play?
About 3 hours, maybe more. Let me see.
Okay. Do you play it
Um,
alone
four
or do you
point
play it with,
eight.
with people?
I played it alone. I do have some friends that have it, and that was I bought a couple games and I bundled that in because I figured, yeah, got some friends that play it, heard good things about it. Sure, why not? And yeah, it was like pleasantly surprised at how enjoyable it was. Like,
Hmm.
it's a very well crafted game, which I guess speaks a lot for the developer slash right owners. I don't is the people who also make the tabletop game also develop like the game? Like, are they also like a
Usually
game
no.
studio? Okay.
No, no. So Games Workshop holds all the IP, and then but they're quite like stringent on how they give it out, and like they're usually like heavily involved with these things, but they like license them out to different studios to make different games. Like there's been loads of Warhammer games over the years. There's like one's going back for a long time. There's like I mean I didn't play most of these, but you've got like Warhammer Fire Warrior, which was on like PlayStation 2, I think. When did that come out? That was like 2003. Yeah, that was on PlayStation. You've
Oh
got even
yeah,
older ones, I think almost like Rogue Trader. And a friend of mine
Vermintide
was playing that
2.
recently. That was like the predecessor to this game that I
Yeah.
didn't play.
I know a lot
Um,
of people were hyped about it. Me being kind of a newbie, I'm just like, I don't get it. Why?
yeah, so I think that was Warhammer Fantasy, I think. Because there's kind of two Warhammers. There's Warhammer Fantasy and there's Warhammer 40,000. Warhammer Fantasy
Oh,
is like your classic medieval setting. Warhammer 40,000 is like the sci-fi one. Because like there's others, but like those are the main universes. So Darktide is like the 40k version of Vermintide, which is like the fancy one. But I've not played Vermintide, so I don't know. But yeah, no, look, it's good, right? It's a bit like Left 4 Dead, kind of. If you've ever played that.
yeah. That's what it kind of reminded me of. It's like similar to that type of game, but I mean, just like oh man, like the graphic fidelity looks really good. And it runs pretty well on my system at least.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, there's some slowdowns, but like, I mean, come on, you gotta have like some of this stuff is like mandatory, like the atmospheric lighting. The blood going everywhere, is just the limbs and stuff. Like, it's pretty necessary for the experience of the game. So like, yeah, I can sacrifice a few frames here and there for that, but I think it's like kind of amazing how well the gameplay loop is crafted because it feels like my first thought was like, this is kind of like Helldivers also. Like, it reminds me a bit of Helldivers.
A bit.
You got like a hub world. You go in with your friends. You do a mission. You get out. You get more resources. You get new stuff. But I would say the catch is like that's the general gameplay loop, right? But for me, the catch is like it feels like there's a lot more depth in the progression system, which not only makes the game more interesting, but just like gives you a reason to keep playing the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is like feels this going on a bit of a tangent, but it feels like this is what Helldivers really was kind of lacking because we really liked the game when it first came out. Like when I got it, I hopped on a little bit later, but we really liked it. We played that thing so much, and then after like 40 hours, it's like okay, I got all the stratagems, done like every mission multiple times. I've used so many different guns, and they're all crap except for a few. you know, um, and it's like okay, it's same with the stratagems. It's like they're all crap. Like doesn't feel like there's a lot of variety. But like with this, I can see there's a lot of like build variety. Like, okay, so I had the default shovel and then I guess like the default laser rifle, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a veteran, I think is the class. I'm,
Mhm.
the gun person. Um, and I was trying some new weapons because the really nice thing too is like every mission you complete, it seems like, anyways, at least right now for me, you get a reward from the Emperor, which is like a free random weapon, with like random tier and rolls and whatever. And it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is cool. Let me try this out, see if I like it, which I really like. But one time I was like, I got a knife, like a combat knife, and I was like, oh yeah, this kind of makes sense for my character, like a military personnel. I get a combat knife, and I used it and I hated it, and it was awful. And I was like, God, this is so bad. Like, oh, this is, and then I started looking at it. I was like, oh, this is like more for because it will have like descriptors, like one word descriptions, and it's like precise and high capacity for like guns, and this was like precision and stealth or something or whatever. Because previously I was anytime I got swarmed by a bunch of enemies, I put away my rifle, bring out the shovel, and just do a wide swing and would
Yeah.
clock them all in the head and they would get like stunned. And you can't do that with a combat knife. You just can't do that. So, but it has like a completely different role versus what the shovel was doing for me. So like I went back to the shovel and I was like, my trusty shovel. I missed you so much. And yeah, I mean with the builds and stuff, because you got like a tree of unlocks and little passives and changing your ability. It's all very it's a very well designed game, and then you got the world and lore is just like highly immersive. Like, I mean, you're just I don't know what to say. The heretics must be purged. What what else is there to say?
One of us. One of us. Now the world's beautiful, right? The hub world is
Oh
like so
yeah,
nice. Like when you're actually in the worlds, it's like you look up and they just like go on forever, and it's just crazy. So like that because that atmosphere is the same as in like Space Marine 2, which is like one of the reasons why it's so good. But yeah, no, like there's a lot of variety, right? So like Helldivers 2 doesn't have a tree. Like for me, the difference between the two games is like Helldivers is about having a bit more freedom, and it's more about kind of like tactics and defeat. It's like slightly bigger scale. It's more macro. That's the way I put it. So it's just like, do I engage with these units? How do I engage with those units? Like, how do I utilize my skill sets as part of the rest of the squad? Which is like same as with Darktide, but you can kind of like split up and do stuff extra quickly. Like you can kind of decide what to do. Whereas like Darktide's like kind of the other way around, where it's like less about the overall like bigger strategy because the maps are like very very linear, and it's more than about like the micro tactics, and it's about player because like yeah Helldivers 2 is about player control, but like especially as you play more you'll realize that like a lot of Darktide it's basically like audio cue simulators. So like the special or the special like mobs, they all have like their own unique audio, and like depending on what you hear you then have to do different things, right? So be like, oh, it's the explodey one, or it's the sniper one, or it's this one or that one or the other one. And as there's like more and more and more enemies, you're just like responding to audio cues like all over the place. It's a bit like you're like playing like I don't know any of these like beat clicker type games kind of thing. It's just like trying to just respond to all these things and not die, and it does get quite hard. So like it's much more, I would say it's like much more like mechanical Dark Tide's like a lot more mechanical than when it comes to like individual player skill than Helldivers. But also like it kind of forces you to play together. Like the maps are linear, but it forces you to play together because of this like the cohesion thing. So like you get like bonuses when you're all together, whereas like Helldivers,
Yes.
yeah, you have the force multiplier of 4 of you being together.
Right.
But like other than just like that, like there's nothing special about being together other than the fact that you're all together. Whereas in Darktide, it's like you are actually stronger together than the like individual. You can't just like add each of you up and be like, oh, that's the strength. It's like you're actually stronger as 4 than you are as like 1+1+1+1. So you all kind of like need to stay together, and that's sort of like part of the difficulty when you get later on is like trying to keep together and not be split up while you're being shot at from like a million different angles and stuff's trying to blow you up and all of that. So it's like because it gets very chaotic, right? You get like swarmed by stuff, and but I love the way that you kind of seamlessly, and a lot of the Warhammer games that work well keep this in, which is the seamless nature between like close combat and shooting. And I feel that like Dark Tide actually does that even better than Space Marine in many ways. Like Dark Tide's got that like perfectly, where it's like you like charge into battle shooting and then you pull out the sword and you like start fighting in close combat. It's like very seamless and like super super cool.
Yeah, because I almost was intentional. Like, I knew there was melee combat involved, so I was like, huh, I'm gonna go against the grain. I'm gonna be a gun person only. And it's like, nah, you can't really do that. I mean, yeah, you just really can't. And it's like, and how they reinforce that too is I really like, because as you touched on, you're stronger together. And like one of the ways is you have shields. You have like your health meter, and then you have like a shield meter. And shields in this game is called toughness, I think. And when
Yeah.
you're together, you like passively restore your shield slowly. Whereas if you're alone, I mean, you get no regeneration because no one's with you. And another way you can restore a shield is by melee combat, which is like pretty
Mm.
huge. So it's like if I get shot at and my shields go down, there's like penalties associated. Next time I get hit, I think like my arm swings and stuff. So it's like I kind of got to pull out my shovel and start building up shields again. And it's just like I'm just kind of amazed, having not really played anything of this genre. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, just how well the game is like made, and
Mm.
it's like the design of it. It's like just very well crafted. Like shout out to the developer, and I just don't know what to say. Like it's just kind of a great game.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I mean, I played. It's like it's not one. It's probably not one that unless you're like really into it, you're not going to play like 1,000 hours of this thing. But I played 70 hours total of Dark Tide, and like thoroughly enjoyed. It feels like longer actually. It did feel like longer.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Helldivers ended up playing like 120 hours. So I played Helldivers for a bit longer. I personally feel like Helldiver, and people have honestly different opinions about this, but like I feel like Helldivers is just like a bit more open. There's kind of like more. There's more ways to like approach the problem, but your tool set to approach the problem is more limited. Whereas in Dark Tide, it's like there is really only one approach to the problem, but your tool set to deal with that is like way wider. So it kind of depends on like which end you want to come from, right? And it's
I
like you've got
think I see what you're
RPG style
saying.
tree in Dark Tide as well. So it's like your character is more interesting in Dark Tide, but the map is more interesting in Helldivers. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like so it sort of swings and roundabouts. Like I just like after my 70 hours, I was like, I'm just kind of like, I'm just sort of done with the game. And we were into the end game, which I don't actually know because I know they did a big patch that we haven't played. So the
Mm-hmm.
original release of the game wasn't very good, and they like redid everything. And I started playing on this like the second patch that they brought out, like the big patch where they overhauled everything, and lots of people saying, "Oh, the game's good now." So I
Yeah.
started playing then. So I don't actually know what it was like before, but the end game is still like kind of rough. It was like basically just RNG rolls. So you just like gathered resources to RNG roll stuff until you got a good roll for things, and then you had to. It was just like chaining RNG. So it's like, oh, you need to roll a good base weapon, and then on there you need to roll a good enchantment, but there's not really any way to influence it. So you just have to just like keep rolling for good base, like use all your resources that you get to roll for better base weapons, and then roll the enchantments on them until you get the one that you want. It was just just a bit like it was just grind for just no reason. So the end game felt a bit like annoying on that basis. But so we basically got to that, and like we're trying some of the hardest difficulties and stuff. And I was like, okay, I think we're kind of like done with this. We just sort of like fell out of playing. It
Yeah.
wasn't really like we
Yeah.
did sort of suddenly go, "Oh, this game's bullshit." We're done with it. It was more just like we just kind of stopped playing. But like yeah, but it's still great. It's still good fun. It's still a good game. Like maybe we'll come back to it with some of the later updates. I don't know.
Yeah, if you have like a
Yeah.
small group of friends, I like highly recommend this game. I mean, the to answer your question about the grind, I think that is probably like a solution they crafted to like keep, because the game's not free to play. You do pay, what is it like? I think it's on sale right now. It might be like 25 USD. I don't know, something like this. But and there's microtransactions, but it's largely cosmetic. I don't really know. I'm
Yeah.
not super, but all in all, it's just
It wasn't
like,
impactful from what I remember. I think it was only
yeah.
cosmetics.
And we're talking like co-op at the end of the day. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like, do I really care? Not really. But just don't price gouge me out of having fun. But anyways, the point is like, yeah, I could see that being like a solution you might do to kind of like extend the longevity of the game. And maybe they changed that. I'm pretty newbie to it all. But yeah, I did see you could like, I saw there was like a tier system, and then you want to, obviously if you're going for like a build, you want to like synergize stuff together. But I really like the build crafting stuff, which ties in nicely with the next game I want to tell you about, Giga.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this game is. I really like this game. Did you ever play Hades?
Yes.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. So this game is called Ravenswatch. Yes, Ravenswatch. And it is a co-op. I don't even know how to describe this. Like co-op roguelike MOBA S game. I don't know. I say MOBA because it has this kind of like internal clock mechanic. Because I don't know how
Hmm.
else to describe that type of, because in the Dota or League you got like a timer, like you want to hit your timings. You gotta be efficient with your time. This has like a very similar principle or idea. So again, co-op. It's from the creators that made Dead Gods. What did that video say? I go back. Curse of the Dead Gods, which I also heard about, but I didn't really play. But anyways, enough faffling about. It's got a top-down S perspective MOBA. It uh, spells and whatnot, but you got different characters. So the character I picked was the splash screen character, which is Little Red Riding Hood, and but part of her ultimate or like her passive or whatever is like during the day she's human, and at night she turns into the big bad wolf.
Right.
Which kind of plays into like the theme of this game is like it's kind of like a book related or story related. Like there's like the menu is all like a book, and when you
That's cool.
make it further within the game, you unlock chapters of your character's story, and they narrate their story. And it's I like it, but they just had a 1.0 release, and because it was previously in some type of beta, um,
Hmm.
but it is so satisfying, like the flow of everything that comes together, because like it's very difficult, right? So you got like, I think
What do
it's
you actually
like,
need to do? Like, what do you actually have to do? Like, what is the
yeah.
goal?
So the goal is essentially to get as far as you can. So you spawn in, you're on a map, right? And you basically spawn like in a base, and
Mm.
then you can look and you can take infinite time while you're in this base. And once you leave the circle, then the counter starts. I think it's maybe like 20 minutes. I'm not positive, but you have some markers on the map, some predetermined stuff like, oh, there's a chest there, and you get a random talent, they are called, which is kind of like an upgrade to your ability, right? And the goal
Okay.
is you want to increase your power, right? And you get EXP, which gives you more health and another talent. And so you killing enemies gives you EXP, and there's just like all these points of interest on the map, and you got to explore the map because there's like a fog of war thing, and you might find some new stuff. There's like a vision tower that will open up the map visually so you can see where all the objectives are. And once the timer reaches the end, then you get teleported to fight the boss of that first chapter.
Ah.
And it's like, I don't know. It's just like we played it our first time, me and a friend, lost at the boss. Okay. But we had to learn. So as we expected, so we played a second time, barely escaped through, went to the next zone, got absolutely destroyed by the boss, as you do. I think we played third time, and we beat the second boss, or did we die again? I can't remember, but because there's just so many mechanics. Like it is that very Hades formula, but it's cooperative. And what
Hmm.
I love about it is once I got into the flow of combat, um, but it also got into the flow of like MOBA being like efficient with your time because you got that timer
Hmm.
going on. So like, and there's gold. You get like gold to spend on things. Like you can upgrade talents if you want. And then because there's different talents are associated with different abilities, you could like spec into a particular style of play. Like my character at that time had like I when I dashed through enemies, I damaged them. Okay, and then I had one of my abilities is like when I hit them twice consecutively, I get a stack, a combo stack it's called, and then it could go up to three, and then my right mouse button is like a dash, does more damage based off how many stacks. But I had like a talent that
Yeah.
got me like the max was increased from three to five, and then my invisibility was like normally like gives you a crit bonus or something, but this time it instantly not only did I go invisible, but I did like a little AoE damage and also granted myself two stacks instantly. So I had like this weird build, but then the crazy thing in my character is like there's a day night cycle. So when it turns night, then I go into werewolf form and like all these things like carry over to the werewolf form. But meanwhile, my friend, he was playing like this knight character and he went and spec'd into like this shield build where he could like stop attacks. And then if I was in the proximity of him, it would heal both of us instead of like just him normally. And then a
Okay.
different time he went like fire crit related while they were like on fire. He would crit them and it worked off my ability that I had fire as well. Like there was just so much to that game. I really like if you have a friend, not even if you don't even have a friend, like but I think it's even cooler with a friend because it has that roguelite element and you get to work with each other and when you die, you can res yourself using raven feathers, which is like a resource in the game you can find more. Or if you're, playing cooperative, one of your buddies can try to res you, but the problem with that is if you take any sorts of damage and it cancels the res, you have to try again. You only got 30 seconds. It is. I cannot phrase this game enough. I genuinely was having so much fun, but it was like past my bedtime. I was like, I should get off, but I want to play this again because it was a lot of fun.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Like I did enjoy Hades when I played it, and I quite like those rogue light games where you kind of just like loop round and round and round and then you get more stuff and then but
Yes,
like
it's
they're
exactly
kind of
like
like
that.
naturally addictive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're just like I get like more power and then you can get further on and you get like a little bit each time, like incremental. It's like pretty cool. I actually do enjoy those games in general. And especially the ones where there's like more randomization within the game. Like you're kind
Mm-hmm.
of building your character like on the fly.
Yeah,
Like
that's really
that's
fun.
like pretty fun because you're like trying to like work stuff out, but like so much of things are unknown. It's just like, is it worth? It depends on the type of game. It's just like, is it worth holding on to this when I might get something that synergizes with it later, but I might not. I've got this better thing now, but like then I might regret taking it. It's like all about these like really difficult choices. Is what I quite like. Like I played like a handful of different games like this. There's like I keep forgetting what the one on my phone was called. It's like a dungeon crawler one on my phone, which is like kind of interesting. It's like
Hmm.
super hard, and then Slay the Spire's a bit like that, and then
Yeah, Slay the
Hades.
Spire
And
is a
I
good
played
one.
quite a few of those on and off. Like Fast and Light's a little bit like that as well, actually. Actually, it's probably quite a lot like that. You ever played Faster Than Light?
I think I have it. I have to check my
Yeah.
library, and I might have played it a little bit, but it was kind of like too was like too different. You know?
Yeah, you might like it now.
Oh, I
You
don't think
actually
I
might like
have
it
it.
now.
Maybe I don't have it. Okay, I thought I had it.
So, we said I had 70 hours in Darktide and 120 hours in Helldivers 2. I actually have 150 hours in Faster Than Light.
No, I actually do have it. I think it's on my other Steam account. But
Oh, you have two.
anyways, yeah, I had a a Smurf Dota account that had some games on it.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Certainly sounds interesting. It's Where's Slay the Spire did I play? 100 hours? Yes. Okay. So like I tend to play these games for about 100 hours, and then I'm like, okay, I get the deal now, and then I sort of stop. But yeah, Fast and Light's another one that's very good if you haven't played it.
Yeah.
Slay the Spire's like card version, right?
Yeah, Slay the Spire was a really. I mean, I even started dabbling in the workshop mods because they came out with workshop mods a bit later. I think, anyways, but yeah, that was kind of fun. But yeah, I think that kind of something you said earlier, it just kind of like sums it up as these types of games having to make hard decisions, work on the fly, and then you have like this action reaction side of the game, and then you got like I don't know, like once it starts clicking and you know it's like very challenging on like it's challenging on like multiple different levels. It's like how do you solve this problem, and then how you know how good is your gamer reflexes? You know how good are you at
Yeah.
dodging the stuff and utilizing all these different things? Like it's very satisfying and it's pretty amazing that you can get all this packaged in like a you know NDS game because the graphics are you know very artistic I would say but not like you know ultra hyper realistic you know what I mean.
Same as Hades.
Yeah, same as Hades for sure. And didn't Hades win like a game of the year or some it won some mini awards if not game of the year when it came out. um so I think that's really cool for gaming that you know things like this can exist and they're pretty solid games, very good games I should say.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, just to the final thing. So I've been playing. I basically have a friend who was just like, Satisfactory's just come out into 1.0. We've not really played it as a group. I have like one friend who's played it before, but like a long time ago, and like it's another one of those games that's changed a lot as time has gone on. Anyway, he was just like, "Oh, we should play this game. Let's all play it together. You can play up to 4, technically speaking, or like officially speaking. You can change the server files and like push it past that, but basically, apparently, the devs say like it's designed for 4. If you push it past 4 and it explodes, don't blame us." Kind of the deal. So like, you can't get more than 4 in by default, but apparently you can change the server to make it work. And it's like I've heard about this game before, and it was kind of like the other Factorio. And I've played about 15 hours so far of Satisfactory, and it's interesting. I mean, it's sort of like mechanically is a bit like Factorio in some ways, but like I've played nearly 200 hours of Factorio, so I'm like relatively seasoned at that game. So like a lot of the there's like some of the problems that you've already solved in Factorio that like I come to Satisfactory. And it's like kind of interesting to see it in a new way. It's like, oh, I've already like seen some of these issues, like the logistical bottlenecks and all of this kind of stuff. I've like seen this before already. So you can kind of like already like get a bit of a head start and start to like preempt stuff that's a problem. Like, okay, I know how to like calculate the various things I need to do and like how the belts work and all this kind of stuff. My overwhelming like early feeling about Satisfactory is that the buildings are absolutely massive. All of the factory stuff is just like huge. Every single individual like element of the design is enormous, and you're in first person as well, whereas like Factorio is in third person, like isometric, like Diablo 2 style. So it's kind of harder to see like what you're doing because you're like right up in it most of the time. Like you can go high up or whatever, like fix it, but most of the time you're just like right up into it, and everything's massive. So like it's not as neat to make the same thing, right? To make like Factorio is just like a lot more, I guess, like streamlined for like factory building, and also the vibe of the game is just like completely different. But yeah, to make like a factory of like similar functionality in Satisfactory is it's just humongous in comparison with Factorio, which is quite like a neat little like puzzle. And it feels a lot more like a puzzle game. And I think also the way that partly because of that, a lot of the crafting recipes are like more simple in Satisfactory. It's not like it's not the tree is not quite as like bonkers as it is in Factorio. But like if it was as bonkers in Satisfactory, the machine that you would need to build it would be like it would just be like football fields of machines and stuff. Because like in Factorio, like an assembler, which is like basically it's like the lowest level component of your factory. It like takes inputs and makes outputs. It's like a a sort of 3x3 square on your screen. Whereas like one of those in
Hmm.
Satisfactory is just like an absolutely humongous like machine. And even like the belts are wide or whatever. And it's just like some of the functionality is just different because there's a lot of stuff in Factorio which is like more complicated. Like there's two sides to every belt, left and right side, and the way that you put stuff on and off belts is using these like robotic arm type things. So you can like move things on and off robotic arms like more flexibly. Whereas in this, it's like there's that concept doesn't really exist. So like a storage container can only take like one belt in, and you need to use these combiners that are also quite big to combine like two belts together. So like the whole thing's just a bit more of a faff to make it work. But like because of the way that it's done, it also is kind of okay. But then at the same time, it's a lot more like Minecraft, honestly. It's like the
Hmm.
Factorio building system, but like in Minecraft. So you need to like explore, and there's like different biomes with like different resources. It feels a bit like Valheim or like Minecraft or something, where
Hmm.
like you have to explore the map to like find the different resources. Like everything the Factorio map is like very simple, but it kind of needs to be because of the way that the game's designed. Because they're totally different games too. Because like Factorio has it's like a hyper like niche automation game, and it's like very hardcore in that sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also a survival game, which Satisfactory isn't really. Because like
Hmm.
the more pollution you make in Factorio, the more you get attacked by the bugs on the planet. So you have to like set up defenses to stop your stuff from getting trashed, which makes Factorio actually quite hard. Because as a new player, you just get like you don't build enough, and you get just like destroyed by the bugs, and they get stronger over time too. But your resources run out as well in Factorio, so
Hmm.
you have to like continuously expand outwards into dangerous territory and fortify it in order to like get more iron, get more uranium, get more like oil, whatever. Whereas like Satisfactory like has hostile creatures, but they don't. They're just like annoying, and they don't trash your base. There's no waves of stuff coming to attack you, and all of the resource nodes are all infinite. So once you've
Hmm.
built the thing there, like you just leave it there, and you never have to like move the whole production chain somewhere else. So that makes it like 10 times easier in that sense. So it's like it's much more peaceful.
Got that kind of creative Minecraft feel to it.
Yeah, much more so than Factorio, which is like Factorio is like quite stressful and much more kind of like it's like detail stress is Factorio, whereas Satisfactory is kind of like beautiful automation creativity kind of thing. It's like much more chill, like much sort of more sort of thoughtful and more beautiful to look at. And it's like being in 3D obviously makes it quite different. Like
Hmm.
Factorio, it doesn't necessarily matter that it's not in 3D because it's in some ways actually makes Satisfactory harder in some sense because you can make a right mess in 3D, whereas in 2D it's like a bit easier to like
Yeah.
organize things.
Yeah.
And because it's like so grid as well, like Satisfactory doesn't have a grid per se. Like you can put stuff on a grid if you want to, but if you want to make an organic spaghetti, you can. And and so it goes like it can just be like really really insane and like hard to fix if you like screw stuff up, especially because things take so much space. You're just like, oh, I actually need to like I put all these things too close together, but I actually need to split all of their outputs into two each. And you're just like, well, now I need to stagger the outputs like so far across because they're so close. They can't fit all the stuff that I want to in the in the right place. So they're very different. And I'm definitely enjoying it for now. But I think Factorio is like probably more my game, I would think, because it's just like harder and it's just more detailed and like more like you can automate like everything, and there's like more tools to do stuff or whatever. But I'm still very early on in Satisfactory, so I don't really know yet. I'm still like learning how to do everything,
It's got
but it's
that.
interesting.
Factorio's got that internal clock, that stressor of, that extra layer
Mm,
of challenge that kind of puts you in the pressure cooker. Whereas this is a little bit more of a laid back environment. But the flip side is it's all in 3D, so you get like the effects of scale. Plus, like I'm watching these trailers, it looks beautiful. Like it's got
yeah,
an art style to it, but it's just like lighting and shading and all that looks really good. Um, it almost some clips I was laughing at earlier almost remind me of like Gmod because they were like
a little
attaching
bit.
they were like attaching rockets to an animal or something, and there was like one where they had like 100, like it was just a ball of rockets on top of an animal or what,
Yeah.
or some type of creature.
You know what's like really funny about so Factorio is like very serious, right? Like you
Yeah.
crash on the planet and you're like alone, And you can play Factorio multiplayer, but like you crash and you're just like alone on this alien planet. Satisfactory is like a lot more tongue in cheek, and like they kind of like set the tone of the game. Each game sets its tone quite well. Like in one you're like alone, like trying to fend against the odds, and in Satisfactory it's just like light-hearted from the get-go. They've got like a GLaDOS style like voice
Oh,
overlay
that's fun.
in the background, which is like kind of like, but not even as like eerie as GLaDOS. It's like goofy humor.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and let's put it this way: it'd be like a GLaDOS type voice with goofy humor that is fitting. And one of my friends said this to me last night. And I was like, oh, this is such a perfect, way this is actually that it works out or how it feels. That like the Satisfactory could like easily fit into the Helldivers universe. Like this is like if you're not on the front line, this would be like a conquered world where you're having to build stuff. Like and that like universe would sort of work, right? So it's like you're working for the corporation Fix It.
Gotcha.
And like the voice is all just like you're here for to save Earth with all of its fluffy buddies and cute puppies and all this stuff. It's just like stupid humor in the background, and then like silly stuff happens in the game, like you saw in the trailers. It's quite like goofy in the tone. So it's like creative and like chilled and just like goofy and just a bit silly and like kind of fun, whatever. And that's definitely more about this. And then you're like building stuff, and there's no like pressure really. It's just like exploration and just kind of the nice atmosphere. So it's completely different in terms of like vibe from Factorio, which as I said is like quite bleak. Like Factorio is quite a bleak game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's like an end to Satisfactory. I'm not really sure, but like there's not really an end to Factorio. It doesn't really finish, right? Like you build a rocket and you leave, but that's like the beginning of the game for the end game. So like there's not really any story. Whereas in this one, it's like, oh, you're on project like Save the Earth, and you're working for Fix It Corporation.
The slides.
No, if you get attacked by stuff, there's like these weird like wild hogs that attack you, and it's just like. It's like, what does it come up with? It comes up with this like notification. It says like unauthorized hostility detected, like like stuff like this, like hostile activity not authorized by the Fix It Corporation detected. Like when you get like your suit damaged and stuff.
Some of these slides in the video, there's like a bajillion interwoven spaghetti of conveyor belts going, just like trigger something within me.
Yeah,
Pure
I built
panic.
And you can build these like hyper tubes so you can get from one place to another.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is like kind of cool to like just shoot yourself from one place to another. But it's just like, yeah, I built my first like, because we kind of been like doing this and that and the other, and I like I had like a little area that was kind of mine that I was trying to like do certain things, and I ended up being like in charge of like one particular resource to try and make. I was like, okay, we're gonna optimize the crap out of this, and so I ended up building my first like mega kind of like factory thing, as mega as it can be, 20 hours in or whatever. And I was just like there, like calculating all the ratios and like putting the right numbers of things down. Like, okay, we need this and this and this, planned it all out and like built it. I was like, okay, this is cool. It's like it's quite satisfying when you make it and it works and all the ratios work out. But like, it's quite mathsy in some ways because otherwise, like, it doesn't end up like flowing through in the right way.
You could almost say it's satisfactory. But
exactly, exactly.
No, I feel really compelled to buy it now because I have some friends that are playing it, and I was just like wasn't sure, but now it's like, okay, this seems pretty fun. I might have to make another purchase here soon.
I feel like Satisfactory is probably on balance. Like you could play Factorio with friends, like no problem. I've not actually tried it, but I feel like Satisfactory is probably better with friends than Factorio is, even though Factorio is probably also fine with friends, but like it feels better to play this with a group, and we're playing it with like a handful of different people who are on at different times, and we're running like you can run like you have to run like a dedicated server for it if you want to run it like multiplayer. It's not that hard. It's like in Steam. It's like a Steam tool. You just like open up the Steam tool and like forward your ports, and then you're basically good to go.
Oh, okay. So someone's always running the server, basically.
Yeah, I mean at the minute we just like run it in the evening because like no one's really on in the day. I had a friend like message me yesterday and just be like, hey, could you put this over? But I didn't see the message for ages. I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry, because I don't want to run it like 24/7. I don't really want to run it while I'm streaming because I'm running it on my gaming PC.
Yeah.
There's like a really awkward bug where like if you're connected locally and then you disconnect, the server shuts down. It's like really annoying. So you have to like connect to yourself through your like external IP. Otherwise, it shuts the server down when you leave, as we found out yesterday. Because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like leave it running until like midnight or whatever. Just like set my computer to like auto shut down at midnight, and I disconnected, and everyone was like, oh, rip. I was like, oh, well, like I don't really have time to fix this now. Sorry. But it's been fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna keep playing.
Nice.
There's lots of stuff in it. I think like it's one of those ones where you type in like how is Satisfactory blah blah, but you get like there's more content in Factorio, and then you like look at the thing and it was like 6 years ago on Reddit. So like there's loads of stuff that they've added. But people say, there's no blueprinting, so you can't like copy paste designs that you've done. But there is now in 1.0, and this is partly the thing, right? They've just released it into 1.0, so it
Yeah.
feels like a
Yeah.
good time to play it because it's sort of polished-ish.
Yeah. No,
Everything
that's
seems
what
to
I've
work pretty well
heard.
so far.
That's what I've
Yeah,
heard. I've heard really good
I do.
stuff.
I do quite like there's a pragmatism to Satisfactory which is quite good, where it's like it's in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that it won't let you do. So like two factory machine type things like producers, you can't just like put them on top of each other. But belts and stuff, it's like it's either like completely fine, just do it, or it's like in yellow where it's like this is probably clipping through something. Like, are you sure? And you just go yes, and then it just like lets you. So it like might clip through a wall or something like that. But there's like a pragmatism to it where it's like if you want this to look nice, don't do what you're about to do, but we'll let you do it if you really want to. So like you have a belt of resources, but it's like going through another machine. Like it won't stop you,
Oh,
but it
that's
does
funny.
say like it is just like this is probably not going to look right. Like clipping may
Yeah.
occur if you do this. So like, and so then it's up to you with like how minor it is. Like you put a power pole down and it's like right next to a machine and like the two models like just intersect and you're like it's like who cares? Whereas like I don't really like a belt going through like a cliff. It just kind of looks stupid. But like the game's like pragmatic enough to just be like you do what you want,
And, and it will just send the resources straight through the cliff.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's
yep, it'll
great.
just flow through. There's no collision or anything for like stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Um, but it's a lot more like freeform because it's in 3D, and you can
Mm-hmm.
put stuff at any angle, right? Like Factorio is like all 90 degrees, like you can't move
Yeah.
anything from one belt to another at 45 degrees. It's just not a thing. Whereas in this game, it's all like free form placement, and you can place to a grid, which is honestly sensible if you want it to actually be modular in any possible way.
Sure.
But you don't have to. You can just spaghetti it if you want to. I'd like one of my first ones. I knew I was going to tear it down at some point and redo it. And one of my friends came over and was just like, "Oh, I actually really love the look of your factory. It's like very organic. It was just like spilling down this mountainside with just like conveyor belts and stuff, and it just like looked kind of cool because it was like all like different angles. Like it looked like something like a waterfall flowing of just like resources. But I knew I was going to take it apart because it was like completely unupgradable. It's just like that's it. That's like, this is as
Mm-hmm.
much as it's ever going to be. It's like it's the equivalent of spaghetti code in like automation. Like there's no way you can do anything now. Like everything has to be completely torn down if you want to do anything to the whole setup.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So keep going with that, I think. And yeah, see where it takes us. I don't know whether it's going to be a 100-hour, 50-hour, 200. I reckon it'll be at least 50. Probably spend 100 on it. It's like one of those games you always want to keep going. It's like, just the next bit, just the next upgrade. Like there's definite goals as well. There's like you have to do
Yeah.
certain things like get to the next tier of tech. It's like that's how you like level through the different techs, get like faster belts and this and the other. You have to like produce a certain amount of these certain items and then send them up into space, and then it like gives you the next tech level. So it's like, it's compelling in its own way to want to keep going.
Yeah.
But
I think
I do,
it's
yeah,
the appeal for me is like the satisfying thing of like constructing this massive thing in 3D with the exploration. To me, that's what's appealing to me the most.
yeah, that is good. I personally find Factorio probably a little bit more satisfying just from a personal level, but it depends on how much weight you put on like the aesthetics and just the feel of going around the factory and seeing it. It's like it's a lot more pristine in Satisfactory and a lot more like visually appealing than it is in Factorio. Even though Factorio is probably like, what would you even say? Just like if you just boiled it down to like its component parts, Factorio is like more complicated. Like there's more intricate. That's what I would say. Like Factorio is just more intricate. And I
Mm-hmm.
like things that are like really super intricate like that. But it's still satisfying. Like I sometimes I get like like even now if I like was going to play Factorio again, it's like I'd feel like very compelled to play. Like the tech tree in Factorio, I just think it's set up slightly better because you're doing stuff because you want to get to the next thing and you have to do a certain amount of work to get there. Whereas like Satisfactory is just like you just have to make an arbitrary amount of like this, that, and the other, and that gives you the next tier. It doesn't necessarily like those things don't give you the next thing directly. It's just like, oh, you make this stuff and send it to space, and then you just get the next tier. Whereas in Factorio, it's just like you get to the next tier by like producing certain quantities of like research, and then you choose what to upgrade in turn, and each one takes different amounts of research of different types, and you kind of build your factory accordingly. So it's like it feels like slightly more like linked. Like the loop is a bit more closed in Factorio, I find. So it feels a bit more dynamic, whereas in Satisfactory it's a bit less like it's a bit more arbitrary, but it doesn't matter. It's still good. Still certainly good.
I feel like from my point of view, it's like Satisfactory is the more marketable product
Yes.
because it's like I can look at it and I could see, it's easier to extrapolate what type of what fun I'm gonna get from this. Whereas Factorio, it's like it's much harder to like market that and like understand what the fun is. But once you experience it and kind of like the parts start clicking together, then it makes sense. Like then you would know if it's going to be fun for you or not. Like you have a better sense of that.
Yeah.
Whereas this is almost just like, yeah, you can build shit. Yeah, you could just run, hang out, do goofy stuff,
Yeah.
But there's
Kind
not
of
really
thing.
like that, here's the mechanics that are pressure, forcing these hard stuff on you, and that's the fun is you working under pressure, like
Yeah,
trust us,
kind
it
of.
sounds like a good idea. Just
It's just like work, but at home.
it's a
Yeah, like
game, okay?
I think Factorio has a smaller target market, probably, right? It's like yeah, programmers and like engineering type people and like
Yeah.
it's like it's a very specific thing. Where it's like more, I think more people can access Satisfactory. Like I have a friend who we kind of like fall into our like various roles whenever we play any of these games, typically speaking, and he's just like the explorer. And he
Mm-hmm.
just goes off and
Mm-hmm.
explores. And in Satisfactory, there's like a research lab for like alien fauna and critters and whatever. And you can just like find like crash sites with other vehicles. There's like hard drives you can bring back research. They like give you more techs and stuff. And like he basically went out and like grabbed loads of like alien bits and whatever's been like researching them in the research stations. There's like a role for him. Like in Factorio, like there wouldn't be for anything for him to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're not like if you're not automating in Factorio,
Mm-hmm.
you're not playing the game,
You're useless to the
really.
machine.
Like you could go and fight stuff. I mean, that's not strictly true. You could just go and fight stuff in Factorio,
Mm-hmm.
but it's less about like like if you want to explore, there's not really anything to explore. Like the map in Factorio is procedural, where it isn't in Satisfactory actually, interestingly. But it's procedural in a like land and sea,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
iron, coal, uranium, oil, and bugs on repeat ad infinitum out to infinity. It's just like that's it. It's like very simple. The map. It's like an old like StarCraft 2 map with water and land, and then just like resource deposits and like enemies, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it. Whereas like Satisfactory is like biomes and all sorts of stuff like Minecraft, but like without the procedural generation because they haven't done it. Apparently they've been asked. Like I did actually look it up. Apparently they've been asked like loads of times, and they're just like it's just too hard to make it work and like know that it's going to give a good experience every time. So it's just one map apparently, but yep, so it's good.
Yeah, it's cool. Anything else before we wrap up today's cast, Gigo?
I hate Lighthouse.
Yes,
No, I'm good.
so I said earlier, this is the episode where you guys crap on Lighthouse. No, this is the follow up to the previous episode we've done in the past where we crap on Lighthouse.
When's the next one due? 6 months from now?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. As always, check out our sponsor, Lethal Gaming Gear, for some cool mouse pad and mice, and we will see you all next week.
Catch you later.